Welcome to the Multiply Your Success podcast, where each week we help growth-minded entrepreneurs and franchise leaders take the next step in their expansion journey. I'm your host, Tom Dufour, CEO of Big Sky Franchise Team. And as we open today, I'm wondering if you've ever heard the stories of businesses that promised their employees a payout at the sale when they exited that business, or maybe took the company public, or did a stock distribution, only to have those shares eventually diluted or eliminated right before the sale happened, thereby eliminating all of the promise to the team that helped get them there. Our guest today is Feras Alhlou, who shares with us just a wealth of great business growth information, but most importantly, in my opinion, how when he sold his business for 8 figures, he kept his promise and he kept his word to his team. Now, Feras has founded, grown, and sold businesses in Silicon Valley and abroad, scaling from 0 to 7 and 8 figures. In 2019, he sold Enor, a digital marketing consulting company, to Dentsu, a top 5 global media company. Feras has also served as an advisor to more than 150 founders. In his current venture, Startup with Feras, he's on a mission to help entrepreneurs in the consulting and services space start and grow their businesses smarter and stronger. So let's go ahead and jump right into it.
Feras Alhlou. I'm co-founder and president of Startup with Feras.
All right. Well, Feras, thank you so much for being a guest. And we were talking before the show about a book you'd written. It's coming up on celebrating its, 10-year anniversary that it's coming up on. And yet, to me, some of the information you talk about and share here is, while some of it's changed with technology and so on, it's still relevant today. These topics, ideas, these concepts are there. So I'd love for you just to give us a quick overview on your book there.
Yeah, sure. No, thank you. And thank you for having me. And I'm really looking forward for this discussion and this conversation. So the subtitle of the book is going from zero to business impact. And it's about measurement, about analytics. And a lot of business owners, small, mid-size, and big, they struggle with measurement. We have a joke in the industry at the time. You're spending money on marketing and half of it is working and the other is not, and you don't know which. So I think the idea of one thing, aside from the technical aspect of analytics, is when you put effort, whether time or money, into a marketing campaign, a marketing effort, a networking event, being an ad, make sure you have some goals and then you find ways to measure the performance of this campaign against those goals. You might not be able to measure 100%, but if you can measure 70, 80%, you are better off than just sort of spending money or time blindly.
I see. So, for example, with a pay-per-click campaign or something like that, and I'm just curious, and I'd imagine a lot of our owners and business leaders that tune in here may not be as familiar with some of the technical aspects of this. So you talked about measuring it against a goal. How would you even go about setting some target goals or initial goals? How might someone sort through some of that basic ideas on that?
Yeah, that's a good question. So you said paid search engine marketing, pay-per-click, paid marketing, all that good stuff. Basically, set a budget. Let's say, just to keep it simple, $1,000 a month. Let's say it costs $1 per click. So I'm going to get 1,000 clicks, 1,000 visits to my website, my landing page. So even if you don't have any goals at all, you don't know, this is the first time you've done it. And let's say your landing page, you're capturing email addresses. You're hopefully persuading people to give you their email address in return, maybe for an ebook or something, or just to get a maybe free session with you. So you're sending 1,000, visitors to your website. Run this for a week and measure what sort of response you're getting. Are you getting maybe 3 emails? So that would be your baseline. How can I improve on that? So even if you have no idea what sort of response or what sort of goal you can do with, especially with paid marketing, is you can very effectively measure the performance of that campaign. And then that would be your baseline. Okay, now if I use a different keyword, if I use maybe a better, stronger call to action, if I improve my landing page, if I, maybe run 2 parallel campaigns in different geographies. So there's a lot of options where you can start building or improving on that baseline. And it's really that mindset of experimenting, especially with paid, so don't go and spend, $10,000 on a campaign and then go back to your agency or to the employee or to the intern that you've hired to help you with that and say, hey, we got 0 leads. No. You have to iterate. You have to iterate fast. You have to sort of run a little bit and measure. So that's more of the mindset that I would definitely recommend for those who are new to running any kind of campaign.
As you start to run these types of campaigns and you start to see, let's say, some traction, and you mentioned doing these tweaks or modifications, or people talk about A/B testing, some of those things.
Yeah.
Can you just give an overview of what some of those things are?
I like analogies. So let's say you go to a networking event in local, right? And you're meeting people, not on Zoom. Go out and meet people, folks. It's important. You got to build that muscle, that sales muscle. And then let's say you prepared a short, your 10-second, 20-second elevator pitch, and you go to this networking event and you plan on, I want to speak with 10 people, and whatever you said, whatever that pitch, let's say it wasn't resonating, like nobody was answering, asking you more questions. People sort of, okay, thank you. Like, so that this thing did not work, right? So the next event you go to, you want to learn and build on that. I don't want to say failure, but that thing did not go well. So maybe you try something different. You say, I joke about this all the time. I used to go and say, hey, we are consultants. We have an analytics company. And this is, 15 years ago. And people would look at me, what are you talking about? What's analytics? Okay, you're a consultant. Big deal. And then when I started to go and say, hey, we help companies find actionable insights to save money, the reaction to just that small change in the way I was talking about my business made a huge difference. So people were, so what kind of insights? So then it started a conversation. So similar to what you do in real life, I think in these ads or like email marketing campaigns, you want to make sure that your message is resonating with the audience. So if I'm bringing, for example, let's say I'm targeting a specific demographic, maybe household income, or maybe based on age or based on gender, then you want to make sure the images and the content, the copy you have on the landing page resonates with. So it's, again, if you're new to all of this, I would say dabble with it, maybe with a small budget, just so you know what's involved, and then get an expert, and we don't sell the service, so this is not self-serving. Find someone local or someone you trust, or ask your network and find someone to guide you through some of these, especially if you are planning on spending a lot of money on paid media. Dabble with it for a little bit with a small budget so you understand, so you can discern when, people are telling you that they're experts and they have no idea what they're talking about. But then, the principle I use, we have a bunch of principles around here. You say like, learn, do, then seek, get the advice of an expert in that area. And these systems have evolved significantly, like in terms of your capabilities and targeting specific audiences and what you can do with them. They're not as straightforward as they used to be 15 years ago.
One of the concepts or topics is trying to find this hidden traffic or other traffic sources out there. And so to me, that's intriguing. I find that interesting. And it's one of those things that sounds almost too good to be true. So I'm just curious, if you can explain what you're referring to there, and then is it too good to be true?
There's so many examples. Fortune 500 have the same issues, by the way. I mean, it's data. The nature of data is messy. Data is never clean. Data always needs some, we say massaging and some wrangling. So that's just the nature of data, whatever data we have. So when you are looking at your traffic sources, so I'm getting traffic from LinkedIn. I've been active on LinkedIn, maybe just organically, and people are coming to so you can see, okay, of all this time I'm writing posts on LinkedIn, is it bringing traffic to my website? This is easy to measure. Paid ads, the same way. There's a bit of setup involved with analytics, but let's say you have that foundation in place. Then there are other ways. Let's say you send me a message on from your phone, Tom, and I click on it on my, let's say WhatsApp or my message. Like, what's the source of that hit, right? So the analytics system, no matter how powerful it is, it might not be able to decipher where this hit came from. If you're coming from a mobile app, or maybe you're coming from there are a bunch of redirects, like from one page to another. So there are ways to get the quality of the data better. So you tag, like every URL you control. If you have a campaign, if you're doing an ad on maybe Facebook and an ad on Google, there are ways to add parameters so you can see how the paid campaign on Google is doing compared to the paid campaign on Facebook. Yeah, there are, but there's just ways, the way data is now shared and the way data is propagated between apps and websites and people sharing stuff, you might not be able, or no, you will not be able to track the source of every hit, every click you get to the site. And that would be in a lot of these systems, including Google Analytics, it'll be in that others bucket. So, and trust me, I mean, I'm still involved. I did sell the analytics business back in 2019 to Dentsu, the global media giant. And then I was out of that industry for 3 years because of my non-compete. And I'm now, I have a co-founder. We have a business that started out of Dubai. And now we have an office in Germany. And then we are back in the US now. So I'm still involved in that business on the measurement side and the customer experience, and more on the marketing and personalization aspect, not on paid media. So trust me, and we work with some top Fortune 500, and we work with mid-sized companies. And companies of all sizes struggle with this stuff because it's not just the technology. You put it out there. You have to put time into it. You have to put some processes around it.
You led right into a transition, which was perfect, about selling the business and now starting a new company and some of the new things you're doing. I'd love for you to just share a little bit about what you're doing today. And then one of the things I found interesting are these 8 martial arts principles for new businesses. And so seeing you've started some new businesses recently over the last several years, I'd love for you just to talk through that as well.
So there's a video on the martial arts. So I practice Aikido. I train in Aikido, and I'm a 3rd degree black belt. Been doing this consistently for the last 15 years. So there's a lot of parallels in my mind in any art and business. So for example, you have to be fit outside the dojo, outside the school. So if you're not eating well, if you're not taking care of your cardio, if you're whatever it is, you're staying fit, your performance in that school, in the martial arts school, is not going to be as effective. So there are a number of these principles. I think in terms of knowing your opponent's mind, that's also very important. In Aikido, there's a lot of, it's all based about harmony. It's about receiving an attack and rechanneling the energy. So in business, if you have an angry client, you don't want to be shouting at them again. It's not right. You want to understand what's going on. Why are they unhappy? What did we mess things up on our end? Did we bring their website down? Did you spend their money on paid ads in an effective way, right? So understand what's going on and then deal with it, right? And maybe give them a free training or take care of their needs or give them a free month of service, whatever the case might be. So a lot of these concepts, I think there are a lot of parallels that, in the journey, I think a lot of people get into, or not a lot, some people get into martial arts to get their black belt, which is a noble goal, and they leave after that. Others, they love it and they enjoy the journey, and then they stick with it for a long time, barring any major life events. In business, the same way. A lot of us, maybe we want to get into the business just to make money. I think making money is important. I'm a capitalist at heart, but there are, I would say, in addition to making money, there are a lot of amazing things about building your own business. And that's why I'm into entrepreneurship now. And this is my 7th venture now. And it's about really working and helping companies build and grow their businesses. I love working with people who are hardworking, they're nice, they're smart. So and I love building things. So building a company and hiring people, or having a co-founder who maybe would complement your skills, but at the same time, it's just fun to work with them and learn from them. To me, that's just very rewarding, and building an amazing culture and sharing with your employees financially and otherwise and help them grow. To me, those are, and helping people solve their problems. This is what we do as business owners. A lot of those are not just sort of icing on the cake. I think they're really meaningful and deep aspects of a business, and the journey is what I enjoy a lot. And maybe it's just in my DNA that I sell a business and I keep going back and doing something different.
Is there anything in particular that you've sought or looked for when you realize maybe it's time to exit this business? Are there any kind of tendencies you found that you recognize when you find that it's the right time?
That's a very good question. So I live in Silicon Valley, and you hear a lot about people building and exiting, and also hear a lot about failure. A lot of 9 out of 10 businesses. We know the stats, and 20% fail after the first year, and then 50% after the 5th year. So there's that. The last business we sold in 2019 was the largest, and we were at 8 figures at the time before we sold, and we're very fortunate to have that whole transaction. It was more like I want to do something different. So I've sold businesses before, but they were maybe smaller scale. It was people I know, but this was going through a full process of due diligence with a global company called Dentsu, one of the top media global giants, 66,000 people, I think. So selling to a big company and going through that due diligence process, is half of my gray hair comes from that process. They don't leave any stone, unturned, uncovered. So that was, to me, is more of, I want to do that. I haven't done that before. And just one thing to share with the listeners is, it's not all about money. And people say, yeah, sure, you can say that now that you've sold businesses and whatnot. But I'll tell you that in 2016, so that's 3 years before we sold the business, my business partner and I, we said, you know what? We have this amazing team of ours and they're helping us grow the business. So we got to do something for them. So we put it on ourselves that whatever happens, if we get some major investment in the business or if we sell the business, we will take 30% of whatever money we get and we would distribute this to our team, because they've helped us, and we had an amazing team. They've helped us get to where we are. And that is not insignificant. I mean, it was, we sold for 8 digits. And so that 30% is a pretty sizable chunk of money. But I was as happy, of course. Again, I'm not trying to show moral purity or I'm just saying that's what we decided to do. And I was very happy to close that transaction and get a bit of that sought after freedom. But at the same time, I was as happy that we were able to deliver on our promise and help our team members also benefit from something they've helped us build. And some of them, they were able to maybe take care of a down payment, or maybe some of them, depending on where they lived, buy a house or maybe pay off a car, or, depending on how long, their tenure with us and other factors. So that's my long answer to your question.
What you said there about making a commitment years before the sale had happened, you had thought about it ahead of time and made that commitment, which is certainly noble in thought. But it really comes down to it when that transaction happens and the exit occurs or the major funding occurs, and now you have the cash. Now comes crunch time. Are you going to deliver on your promise? It's very tempting when you have that to reconsider or change the rules. I think it's wonderful that you stuck with it, and reminds me of a story, a close friend of mine. I'll leave the name to go unnamed, but had stock options as part of his plan. The company went through some tough times, and interestingly, all of the employee stock options were basically wiped out, and none of the executive stock options were, though. Those were all kept intact, and it really shone a spotlight on what was actually important along the way. So I commend you, and I think it's wonderful that you honored your commitment.
Thank you. And I've heard similar stories, Tom, and people I know, it is just really sad. Like last minute, all of a sudden, a new class of options or shares showed up. So instead of me getting, like, say, 1% of 100%, now I'm getting 1% of like 500%, which is, 5% less than what I was planning. So I've seen this firsthand. And just like we had, when I spoke with our attorney, Dan, at the time, to put something together, and, we were self-convinced. Okay, it's going to be like a 40-page document. I said, Dan, I love you, but I don't want to pay you, $10,000 to come up with an option. Just keep it simple. So we had a two-page document that we had shared with our people. And basically, this could have been altered. We could have done things with it, but it's the people who got us there. And most of these, if not all of them, are still very good friends, and we stay in touch. And this is years after, the acquisition. And so in business, yes, give it your best, work hard, make a whole lot of money. At the same time, share from what you have in whatever. Sometimes we don't have additional resources or extra resources to share, but maybe on the way back from work, on the way on our daily walk or hike, help another entrepreneur who's struggling. Maybe help a nonprofit. Let's say you're strong you're good with numbers, and maybe you're an accountant. Just give an hour of a week to help a nonprofit with their books. So whatever the case might be, go to a school in a district where they don't have a lot of resources and offer something, career advice. So I think giving from what we have is really important to me. And that's something I kind of try to live up to and share with, my children and those around us and the companies we built and the culture that we built and the companies we've had so far.
Wonderful. Well, Feras, this is a great time in the show where we ask every guest the same 4 questions. We make a little transition. And the first question we ask is, have you had a miss or two on your journey and something you learned from it?
Short answer is yes. Long list of misses. I'll just run a few quick ones. One is work ethics. Early on in my career, I just thought you work 8 to 5 and that was it. So I would come to the office like 7:59 and leave at 5:01. I think if you're serious about growth in your career, for the listeners, especially maybe the younger listeners who are just, maybe new graduates now, we're around this season, put time and effort into whatever you're doing, be it your own business or maybe your career. Especially early on, the trajectory is going to be significantly better and different if you invest a lot and learn more skills. So I didn't do that. I missed, we had a major layoff in that first company I was at. And I missed that layoff by a hair. And I had a young family at the time, 3, my wife and 3 children. And it would have been devastating. So learned from that. And I figured I got to do more and be sort of a top performer. So that was a big miss. And another one is about hiring. So, I did the live stream on our channel on the 10 best practices for hiring. And all those 10 best practices are mistakes I made. If you're hiring a VP of sales and you have no background in sales, do not do it on your own. Get someone in your network to help you discern and find a good candidate and hire someone on Upwork or any of these systems, platforms, and get them to maybe pay them $200 an hour to help you interview the right candidate if you don't know. Because business owners, they want to grow, they hire fast, becomes a disaster. You lose money, you lose momentum, you lose growth. So yeah, those made a lot of mistakes in hiring early on. So those are some of the misses. I have a long list, so that would be another episode.
I love it. Thank you very much. And let's talk about a win. You've talked about a few highlights, but I'd love for you to share some others.
Building a business, growing a business. I would say one where we turned something negative. This was maybe 10 years ago. In one of the business we were doing well, strong revenue, strong profits. And then we wanted to do a new service line. And we saw an opportunity in the industry to have we built a tool and with some training around it. So we hired for that, a senior person and a marketer. So two full-time, two FTEs, 6 months, and put a budget aside. And we got 0 traction. So that doesn't sound like a make, but here's what happened is in business, you have to double down, pivot, or just call it quits. So we said, you know what? We tried everything, every possible thing. It's just not working. So we pulled the plug. The make out of it is those 2 people whom we've hired and dedicated to this effort. We did not let go of them when we pulled the plug on that initiative because they're just amazing people. It's just they were put in the wrong circumstance. It was some external factors and we did not do enough market research. So it's on me. And we had them in new positions after that really, really horrible experience. We lost, I don't know, maybe $150,000 or so. And they ended up doing amazingly well in the new positions and help our growth significantly. So turn something negative into something positive. As a business owner, it's easy to blame and point the finger. But as Jim Collins said, when things go well, look out the window, thank others, be grateful to others. And then when things go bad, you as the CEO, as the founder, as the manager, look in the mirror. What is it that you could have done better?
That's a great story. It reminds me, one of my first jobs right out of school was selling a new service that organization had, just like you had described. And it just did not go as planned. And from my vantage point, it wasn't anything that I was maybe necessarily doing. I was doing everything I was supposed to do. I was young. I didn't know any better. They pulled the plug 9 months into it or so. And I thought, well, am I going to be around? And they moved me to another department that had longevity. It had history, longevity, kind of had a proven pathway of success. And 3 months into that role, I was the department manager and kind of
Nice.
kept going up from there, right? So to your point, it wasn't the people that were
Yep.
involved, right? That was
Absolutely.
great. Well, let's talk about a multiplier that you've used to grow yourself or businesses you've operated.
So since we're talking about people and the importance of people in business, I'll stay focused on that. And the last few businesses have all been in consulting and in services, and people, services businesses is all about people. So I would say a couple of things. The first, I would say, multiplier is hiring A people. So A people are amazing; they're top performers. The other thing is that when they are your managers or your directors, and they're doing their own hiring, A people hire and bring on A people, while B people will hire and bring on C people. And it just goes downhill. It goes like it spirals down very quickly from there. So we were able to significantly grow the different businesses when we had the right person and gave them the right support and right environment, and they would just do wonders. I remember we hired this young lady in one of the ventures, and we were trying to get some certification with one of the vendors. And I didn't tell her and ask her on one of the weekends on Monday morning, she emailed me and said, "Hey, I just got this certification." And then we were able to become a company certified and be listed on their approved vendors, and then leads would come our way, right? So they take the A people, they're smart, they're resourceful, they'll take care of the business. You take care of them, they will take care of your business. So that's one thing. The other one, I think that another multiplier, and again, I'm focusing on people. There are other multipliers in terms of processes and systems and other things. But in terms of, I think when if you're looking to start a business or you started and you're looking to get a co-founder or maybe co-founders, business partners, or if you want to go solo, which is fine, you can find success either way. Your first hire or two or three, look for people with complementary skills and same values, same general values. It's important. You'll be spending most of your waking hours with these people. So make sure you can stand them. There's some chemistry. But aside from that, from a technical and either technical skills or soft skills, or maybe just from their resources, like their network, make sure, I think, finding people who can complement you in the way you make decisions and the way you go about business will help you tremendously in terms of growth and multiplying, whether it's revenue or hiring or whatever the case might be. So those, A people and people who can complement you. I know you're perfect. I know you're the CEO. I know you know it all. I know you have that go-getterness, but trust me, sit down, talk to your spouse, your partner, people who care about you and know you well, and they'll give you probably 3-4 things that are your weaknesses, and you got to find someone to help you in those areas.
Great suggestion there. Well, Feras, the final question we ask every guest is, what does success mean to you?
Success, we're talking about the money part and that. I think this one quote I'll share with you, Tom, that by Ralph Waldo Emerson, and I'm paraphrasing, but he said, life is not about just being happy. It's about being compassionate, being honorable, and to be useful. You share and you live, and that you've lived well. So success, I think, is about setting goals and achieving these goals, or giving it your best to get there. And there'll be pivots and turns, and that's fine. So there's some material, tangible success, but there's also that journey and having people with you and along sort of on your journey and help them grow, and helping others and being of service to others, being a role model to your employees and teams, and also at home. I mean, that's, I think Stephen Covey said in his book, late Stephen Covey, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, one of the most amazing books that I've kind of influenced me, I think, early on in my life, is about what do you want to be known for at your eulogy. We shouldn't be ending this episode on this note, but like, what do you want people to say about you, right? And then live a life that will lead to that. So
wonderful. And as we bring this to a close, is there anything you were hoping to share or get across that you haven't had a chance to yet?
No, we covered a lot. I think for the listeners out there, my motto in life is work hard and play hard. So if you want to achieve something big, you have to work hard. There are no shortcuts to success. You go on YouTube and just type the word millionaire and see all the get rich quick schemes, right? You just got to work hard. And I will note that in certain seasons in your life, you might not be able to work very hard or maybe have the resources. So noted, take care of what you have to take care of, maybe young children, maybe aging parents, maybe a mental health issue, maybe physical, issue. But there are seasons in life when we have time. And this is the time to take care of yourself, work hard for your business, stay fit physically, read and stay strong intellectually, have relationships. So less Netflix, less leisure time, less vacation. I do all of the above, trust me. Well, not maybe. I watch very little TV, but find time, take care of yourself and those around you. But there's no other way of making it and making it big than really working hard and learning. Yeah, so I'll leave it at that.
If someone's interested, they like what you're saying and do it, how can they get in touch with you and learn a little bit more about you after this interview?
Yeah, thanks, Tom. Thanks for asking. Yeah, basically go to startupwithferas.com, and Feras is spelled Feras, like my first name is spelled. And we have a daily newsletter, so sign up for that newsletter. We have tips and strategies on how to build, grow, and scale your business to 7 and 8 figures from experience. And also we have our YouTube channel at Startup with Feras, Feras. We publish videos almost weekly, and we have a bunch of shorts, and we have live streams. So a lot of good, all of this content is available, ungated. We are launching some services in the next few weeks, so those will be there. But for now, everything's available to you. Just sign up for that newsletter; it's free, and then hopefully that'll be you'll find a lot of useful content for you if you want to start and grow a business.
Feras, thank you so much for a fantastic interview, and let's go ahead and jump into today's 3 key takeaways. So takeaway number 1 comes from the beginning of the interview when Feras said that you have to make sure you have some goals for your marketing campaign and then measure against it. Even if you only can measure maybe 80% of that goal, he said that's good enough for what you're looking to do and measure. So get a place to start. Takeaway number 2 is when he talked about how 3 years prior to selling his business, he put it upon himself and his leadership team to put a contract in place that promised to his team, his employees, that 30% of the money they would make at the sale would be distributed to the team. And when he sold that business for 8 figures, he followed through on that promise. And they had a whole plan and schedule in place that allowed for the monies to be distributed accordingly. But he kept his word. And to me, I thought that was just phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. Takeaway number 3 is when he talked about a miss and really something he had learned from it. And he has his 10 best practices for hiring. And one of them is that if you don't have knowledge or expertise in the area that you're hiring someone for, he gave a great suggestion, which is to hire someone or find someone on Upwork that has that background or that specialty skill and experience to help you in selecting or finding those candidates. I thought that was a great suggestion. And now it's time for today's win-win. So today's win-win is when Feras said at the end of the interview that there are no shortcuts to success. There are no shortcuts to success. And that's just the truth. You've got to put the time and the work in. It's not saying to work inefficiently. That's not what he's saying. Certainly you want to be efficient and delegate and build a team and so on. But at the end of the day, there are no shortcuts or ways to approach it. And I love tying this back to the second takeaway we talked about when he sold the business and made that deal with his team that they would share in the success together because they helped him get there and he made a commitment to them early on. So he knew there was no shortcuts. And so he wanted his team on board with that. I thought that was just a phenomenal win-win there. So that's the episode today, folks. Please make sure you subscribe to the podcast and give us a review. And remember, if you or anyone you know might be ready to franchise their business or take their franchise company to the next level, please connect with us at bigskyfranchiseteam.com. Thanks for tuning in, and we look forward to having you back next week.